If there is one company, one lens manufacturer to look out for in 2025, I can tell you that is Viltrox. Sony may drop a lens or two throughout the year. Viltrox will probably drop an average of one lens per month in that same time frame. And the thing is, these lenses are not just cheap garbage lenses. Well, they are cheap, but they are also very, very good. This is the brand new 25mm f1.7 Air, and today it joins the 35mm and the 56mm f1.7 versions, which are all housed in this same body. And I'm not a genius in predicting the future, but in my opinion, this lens is destined to be a bestseller, especially for those shooting Fuji. This new lens comes in a small white box. Inside you have a warranty card and a QR code for the instruction manual, a microfiber pouch, and the lens itself. It comes with plastic front and rear caps and a plastic rose petal lens hood. The lens feels just like the 35mm and the 56mm. The weight is a light 170 grams, and although the body is all plastic, it feels just as well built as Sony's smaller lenses. For reference, here it is next to the Viltrox 27mm f1.2. It is nearly half the size and about half the weight, and a closer comparison would probably be the Sigma 23mm f1.4, and again in this case the Viltrox is significantly smaller and lighter. Starting at the rear, there is a metal mount with electronics, a USB-C port for firmware updates, and no weather sealing gasket. This lens body is very simple, no buttons or switches, just some lens specs and a manual focus ring that is smooth, all electronic. Unfortunately, there is no aperture ring here, which is a sad point, especially for Fuji shooters, but the Air line has never had aperture rings, so what can you do? Around the front, you get a modest front lens element and a bunch of text, lens specs, image size, a 52mm front filter thread, and a minimum focus of 1 foot. Inside, there are 12 elements in 10 groups, a 9-bladed diaphragm, and an STM or a stepper lead screw autofocus motor. Now, you might be thinking, why isn't this a 23mm? After all, 23mm after that 1.5 crop factor is the equivalent of 34.5mm or round up 35mm on full frame, whereas this 25mm is a 37.5mm equivalent on a full frame, so it's slightly tighter, almost to that 40mm focal length that is getting popular on full frame cameras. And maybe Viltrox did this so that it wouldn't be quite as confusing since they already have a 23mm f1.4 option, but whatever the reason is, I have found that this Air series offers noticeably better optical performance wide open than the equivalent f1.4 version of these lenses, and in a smaller package and for less money. Now, since this is a street photographer's ideal focal length, I figured I would go out and shoot some street photos. Here they are, unedited, straight out of my A6700. Ready, set, go. The optics look really good on this lens. Wide open, there is plenty of sharpness at f1.7 in the center of the frame as well as across the frame. In fact, here it is compared to the Sigma 23mm f1.4, a lens that we know is very, very sharp. And there's no other way of saying it. Wide open, comparing f1.4 to f1.7, the Viltrox is sharper than the Sigma. When you stop the Sigma down, you get very similar performance both in the center of the frame and in the corners. But this is the important bit. What you are seeing is a $550 lens, which most consider a very strong value from Sigma, being absolutely destroyed from a value to performance perspective by a $179 lens. Is it perfect? No, there is some vignetting. You guys are seeing some samples, and these are with no corrections applied. So if the dark corners bother you, it's an easy correction in post. Nowadays, you can even make those edits on Canva. There is also a mild bit of barrel distortion, not huge, but enough to be noticeable. Again, something that you can correct as well. Chromatic aberration performance is pretty good. There is some purple and some green fringing on especially high contrast out of focus areas, but not nearly as much as I anticipated. Viltrox is using some very good elements and coatings to keep these aberrations down. Flare performance likewise is very good. There is a minimal loss of contrast, not a huge lens flare, but it's there. It's better than a large number of other lenses out there. Focus breathing also is almost non-existent. It's really quite impressive. The autofocus performance is excellent on my a6700. This lens is very confident. It tracks the eyes and faces brilliantly. It feels honestly just like a native Sony lens. The focus motor is silent. I had no issues with photos or videos, no weird racks or pulses. Viltrox really has their autofocus system figured out. Overall, this is a great little lens. I was going to say it's a surprise, but it's really not. Viltrox has been absolutely hitting home runs lately, really in the last year or two, and this is certainly one of them. I cannot think of a better 35mm equivalent APS-C lens for the money. The TT Artisan or the 7 Artisan or the Meiki competitors really do not come close. This is a $179 US. That's a whopping $371 less expensive than that Sigma, and it's smaller, it's lighter. Really, for its intended purpose as a walk-around daily carry lens, this is a better option than the larger and more expensive Sigma. So if you guys are interested in reading more about this lens, checking out specs, and possibly buying your own, please use that link down in the description. I will try to get you guys a coupon code as well to Viltrox so that you can save maybe 5 or 8% or something like that. So look out for that in the comments and in the description. And while you're down in the comments, let me know what you guys think about this lens. Would you still pay more money for that Sigma? Or would you buy something less expensive like this Viltrox? Curious what you guys have to say. As always, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.